Come in the righteous name of Lord Supreme. I wanted to take this time today to build with you on today's Supreme Mathematics. Today's November 11th, 2022, Veterans Day. And our principle of Supreme Mathematics, that's knowledge. Now, what does knowledge mean? That means that you have to pay attention to the things that you're learning. And you have to make sure that the things that you're learning, that you take into account of whether or not this subject that you're learning on or this type of topic that you're evaluating and assessing is helpful for your growth and development as a man or woman. Now, the reason why it tells you the knowledge is because you have to think twice on whether or not this type of knowledge that you're getting for yourself is going to help you move in a forward direction. You got to realize that this type of knowledge that you're going to gain is supposed to help you catapult to the next level in life. It's not supposed to cause you to regress. It's supposed to cause you to progress, move forward. Now, overall, I'm dealing strictly with Supreme Mathematics because of the mere fact that a lot of times, a lot of brothers don't know how to break down our Supreme Mathematics when, honestly, it's the most simplest thing you can do. Just don't overcomplicate it, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you can oversimplify things, just whether or not you want to keep it real simple, just keep it to the point where your audience can understand it. That is the key element. The knowledge is paying attention to the things that you're learning. Pay attention to what you're learning about. Know and understand why you're learning it. Get a better insight of why you decide the things that you want to learn in regards to the knowledge. Like, for instance, knowledge could be knowledge of yourself. Why? Because you want to learn more about yourself as you go along and as you get older and mature in your years and your growth and development. You want to be able to expand your mind to a different level of life instead of always being complacent with the modern day thinking of the average individual. You know what I'm saying? It wants you to, knowledge in yourself is knowledge and the knowledge of who you are and what you do and how you do it. Learning how to take yourself into accountability and be responsible for the things that you say that you do and the things that you say that you're gonna do. One thing's for sure and two things for certain is this. People are gonna pay attention to the knowledge that you possess on whether or not it's leading you forward or sending you backwards. Why is that? Because the world is full of eyes that's always watching to see whether or not something is coinciding with what they want to see or coinciding with what they want to do with themselves. You feel what I'm saying? Most people watch other individuals in order for them to understand what type of movement they're making and whether or not that movement is helping them or hurting them. Now, it can go many different ways. Now, one way it can go is this. A person will really paying attention to your ways and actions because they want to know whether or not you are a noble man, sincere man, a manipulative man, a man of many faces. You got to take these situations and circumstances into account because of the mere fact that, right, when it comes down to dealing with life situations and circumstances, you got to pay attention to everything that's around you. Not just some things, everything. Why? Because that's knowledge in the knowledge. That's double checking your surroundings. That's what knowledge in the knowledge is, double checking your surroundings. Making sure you don't move into danger. You feel what I'm saying? Knowledge in your knowledge is making sure that whatever you got under your belt that you're obtaining and you're learning, you constantly keep going over and over and over until you learn how to be pragmatic with it. Knowledge in your knowledge is making sure that you're being mindful of what you're doing and where you're doing it at and how you're doing it. You got to be very, very aware and circumspect in your surroundings, because if you're not, you can fall victim to the wiles of the world. What is the wiles of the world? You might get sucked into, there might be a group of people going one way, you're supposed to be going the other way, but you end up going the same way they go. That's not paying attention to your surroundings. If you are following the crowd, but you're not being a leader. You feel what I'm saying? So that's one way to understand it as well. We'll always make sure that you stay well-rounded in your insight, as well as your eyesight, as well as your foresight. You know what I'm saying? Because you always want to make sure that everything that you do has a purpose and a reason. And that's another reason too. Knowledge and the knowledge is making sure that the knowledge that you have is purposeful. That was all. Yeah, tongue-tied. But like I said, once again, the knowledge that you have or the knowledge that you possess is supposed to perform a certain act. It's supposed to be able to help you perform a certain task and objective in order for you to be successful in all of your endeavors. Now, I'm saying this in regards to dealing with today's math. I'm not dealing with no lessons yet, but I will be getting into the lessons soon. The reason why you have to be aware of how you think and be aware of where you're at and what you do is because you got to be accountable and responsible for how you act and move around certain individuals. You know, everybody is not deserving of your time and your energy sometimes. Some people, they only get a little snippet of who you are. They don't get the whole thing. That's also knowledge in yourself as well. Knowing who you are, knowing what you're capable of doing, knowing what time you invest in, and why you invest the time you invest in. Most of the time, people don't even acknowledge their own self. That's why they fall victim to the wiles of the world, where they end up following the crowd instead of being the leader of the crowd. So, in today's degree, in the 1 to 14, it says, "Have you not heard that your word is born regardless of whom or what?" The answer is, yes, my word is born, and born means life, and I will give my life before my word shall fail. So that basically means you're going to hold yourself accountable and responsible for what you say, do, and express in any way, shape, form, or fashion. So when it comes time for you to perform an action, or it comes time for you to complete or get your objective done, you're holding yourself accountable, meaning you're making sure that you're going to get this done no matter what the situation or circumstance requires for you to do. You always have to make sure that when you say something to yourself, remember, you're making a verbal promise, a mental promise, and an emotional promise to yourself that you're going to get this task done no matter what the case may be. So, whether it's you at the job filing papers and you probably constantly keep looking at the time, but not realizing or not noticing that you way behind because you're too busy getting caught up in the time and the wilds of the world. You're so stuck with the time, if you would have been doing your work, you wouldn't have to worry about the time. You see what I'm saying? So you got to hold yourself accountable and responsible for falling behind on your work because of you not taking the time to do your work and get the objective done instead. Remember, your word is born regardless of whom or what. So that means that you hold yourself at a high regard and you respect yourself enough to show yourself that, yo, I'm going to get this job done regardless of what the situation requires. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop looking at this damn watch. I'm going to stop looking at this damn clock. And I'm going to start busting out these papers and getting them filed and getting them sent on their way. That's one way how you handle a situation. Now, that's for one of the lessons. Now, the next lesson I'm going to go into is the knowledge degree in the 1 to 40. It says, will you sit at home and wait for the mystery God to bring you food? Answer, emphatically no. Me and my people who have been lost for home for 379 years tried this so-called mystery God for bread, clothes, and in the home. And we received nothing but hard times, hunger, nakedness, and out of doors. And was also beaten and killed by the same ones who advocated that God. And no relief came to the Son of Man came to our aid by the name of a prophet, W.D. Favre. Now, what is this lesson stressing? The lesson is stressing that the simple fact that a lot of individuals are sitting around waiting for somebody to save them when they have the ability and the capabilities and their own mental capacities and physical capacity to do the things that they need to do for their own self. Now, it do another man no good to live your life if you don't know how to live it yourself. Now, mind you, even though you might think that living in another man's shoes is easy, trust me. That's why you got that phrase, walk a mile in my shoes. Tell me what you see. Because you got to realize there's too many people waiting around. Too many people just waiting for money to come in their laps. Let me tell you something. It says, will you sit at home for that mystery God to bring you food? First of all, you got to have the will to sit. In other words, you have to put yourself under that type of bondage or that type of discipline for you to actually sit there and want to wait for something to bring you something, or for you to go and get up and stand up on your own and get it yourself. Now, I will go with Plan B, but a lot of people most of the time go with Plan A because they deal with this mystery God that's been indoctrinated and embedded in their heads for years, months, and days. Now we're coming to a point where they're so complacent with it, they're actually sit on their own will and wait for this mystery God to bring them so-called food. And that food is knowledge. Because food is symbolic to knowledge. Because I'm going to tell you one thing. When you're hungry as hell or you're starving, I guarantee you're going to go find you something to eat. And it's the same thing with knowledge. You got to be just as hungry, or you got to be starving for it and really want it in order for you to understand what it can do for you or how it can help you. Now, a lot of times when we're dealing with the whole idea of waiting around, we're either waiting around because we have something that's appointed to us or given to us, or we have to set something up for us to be appointed something. Now, what I mean by that is like this. For instance, obviously, you got to set up an appointment. Now, appointment means to be able to meet up and rendezvous and schedule a level of assessing certain situations and circumstances in order for you to know what you need to do for yourself. For instance, you go to the doctors, you go get a checkup to find out what you need to do, what's the next step for yourself, for health purposes and medical reasons. You feel what I'm saying? You set up you fill out an application in order for you to set up an interview to have an application to see if you qualify for a job. That's also called an appointment, or it's also called an interview or orientation. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, when it comes down to sitting around and waiting for something, you shouldn't be complacent enough to sit around and really tell yourself that you're waiting for something. Because if you have physical capacity, or even an emotional and mental capacity to do whatever you need to do, why not do it yourself? You waiting for somebody else to do it, it ain't never gonna get done the way you wanted to get done. Remember, they always tell you, if you ever want to get something done, you better do it yourself. So that's what knowledge and the knowledge is. Knowing that you got the powers, the capabilities, and the abilities to be accounted for and be responsible for your well-being, your own, and to save yourself. See, a lot of times, a motherfucker want to wait around for somebody else to save them. Nah. See, that's the problem that we have in this day and age. You're looking for individuals that's sitting around every single day, waiting around, trying to wait for somebody to save them like they knight in shining armor. Let me tell you something. One thing for sure and two things for certain. You're going to be your own knight in shining armor regardless of what, because you have to save yourself because you came in this world alone and you're going to die alone. So why not acknowledge the knowledge that you have for yourself sitting around and stop saying to yourself, oh, I'm going to wait for so-called Jesus to come back, or I'm going to wait for God to do it for me. Let me tell you something. If you guys are so gung-ho about this God stuff, and you don't understand that this God gave you this will, why would he take his will back and start doing shit for you if he gave you the will to have the power to do it for yourself? That doesn't make any sense in the realm of life. How is somebody going to give you something for you to operate and function in order for you to get things done, but then take his will back and get it done and to do it himself? He ain't do that. Now, I ain't talking no spookism shit. I'm talking about energy, power, and strength. That's what I'm talking about. Because a lot of times you look at this situation in life like this, right? Do the knowledge to my knowledge, right? Hear what I'm saying and look at where I'm going with this. If you had as much strength to rely on the mystery God mentally, What makes you think you don't have that much strength physically to get up and go do the stuff that you rely on a so-called mystery God to do for you that you can't do on your own? I'll wait. Exactly. See, when you hit it with logic and make it make sense, a lot of individuals can't combat that because they don't understand what they're doing does not make sense. Because the degree says, me and my people who have been lost from home for 379 years have tried to so-called mystery God for bread, clothing, and a home, and received nothing but hard times, hunger, nakedness, and out of doors. Let me stop right there. The reason why that hard time, hunger, nakedness is out of doors because you sat around and waited and you thought that something was going to magically pop up in your world, in your cipher, and in your life, or in your apartment that your bills is going to get paid and come to find out, or your mortgage is getting, your house is getting repoed, your house is getting repossessed, your car is getting repoed, all this shit because you want to sit here talking about, I'm waiting on Jesus. Man, listen, if you don't get up and go do this shit on your own and go pay that bill, you ain't going to have no damn place to be living. Now, it said hard times. Why are you having hard times? Because you're relying on another motherfucker to do your work. You're relying on another motherfucker that probably got as much capabilities as you do to do your work for you so you can be able to have to say, whew, that's my relief. That's not relief. Relief is when you get your job done and your objectives completed and everything is born into the reality of what you want to see, and it shows and proves through the results of what you did based on your work and performance. Now you can see and say, see, now I'm done. I don't have to worry about nothing no more. Now that's my relief. How you get relief? By taking care of your own responsibilities and stop putting it in the hands of others. That's why people was lost from home for 379 years, because they didn't know who they are. They didn't know their role and position in life. They didn't know where they was headed and where they was going. They didn't even know who they are from the beginning of life when it started for them. So now, when you bring understanding into the cipher of who and what is God, and it's coming to the reality of life, now people are having a different level and a different outlook on how they see God. Now God is not no mystery. God is the reality of all things that in which you see. God is man. The original man is the supreme of all beings. He's the Lord and God of all worlds and the universe. You feel what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, when it comes down to the cipher of understanding what relief is when the stress is taken off of you based on the situation that's presented. So let me give you, for instance, this is how relief can come to you easily, and you could be relieved of all your problems. Go get knowledge yourself, understand who you are, take the proper steps, learn the dietary laws, understand your life, know the position you're in, know where you're headed, and know what you want. You gotta ask yourself this question when you get knowledge yourself, because you gotta be faced with yourself. See, no relief comes to you because you're waiting for somebody else to bring you relief when you could bring that shit on your own accord and on your own good time. It's fucked up how people look at things and they want motherfuckers to bail them out because they can't do it, or they feel like they want to half-ass it. And when they half-ass it, what ends up happening is they fall victim to not getting their objectives done or their tasks completed. Now they looking like a bunch of fools because of the mere fact that they want to constantly rely on something else to get their job done. No. So basically, what am I saying to you overall in this conclusion of this lesson, in this video? Stop waiting for someone to go do shit that you can do on your own. Get up off your ass and go do it yourself. Wait on no man, because time waits for no man. That's what that degree is telling you. It said no relief came to the Son of Man came to our aid by the name of Prophet W.D. Farr. And probably the person came to your aid to make a profit off of you, and you ain't even realizing that. Did you look at that? Maybe he wanted to profit off of your labor because he wanted to help you and see like he was acting like he was relieving you when he was manipulating and deceiving you. Study your lessons to keep you from guessing. And those will be your long-term life lessons of blessings. Peace. So lost 5%.